So word problem. Okay, when you see keywords like exceed, right, it implies greater than. Okay, it does not include equal, right? Exceed, it has to be greater than, right? Or less than, right? If it's more explicitly worded. And then things that would include an equal, right, as well as greater than or less than is keywords like at least. So those are important things to know when you attempt word problems. Okay. So today I'm going to do a couple of practice questions with you on word problems. All right, so in this question, we have a mathematical model for the bacterial count in tap water and another mathematical model for bacterial count in pond water. So, and for both model, the domain is set for you, right? T is greater than 0. So, and the question asks, will the bacterial count for tap water, for the tap water sample, ever exceed the pond water bacterial count? Yep. So now, when the tap water bacterial count exceeds the pond water count, f of t will be greater than, right? Exceeds means greater than g of t, right? Exceeds, greater than. Well, I will circle it. Greater than. So in particular, five over t squared plus 4t plus 3 is greater than 15t over t squared plus 9. To solve this inequality, okay, so what do you have to do to solve an inequality? Yeah. Okay, so to make one side 0, right? To subtract one of them. Yes, Grace? Can you cross multiply? Generally not, right? Generally not. But in this case, you actually can cross multiply if you know for a fact that what you're cross multiplying is either positive for sure or negative for sure, right? So in this case, I can cross multiply because since t is greater than 0, now let's look at each denominator. So t squared plus 4t plus 3. If t is greater than 0, would this be positive always? This will always be positive, right? What about t squared plus 9? This will also always be positive. So in fact, you can cross multiply. So this implies that, so 5t, I can multiply both sides by t squared plus 9. It's greater than 15t. I can also multiply both sides by t squared plus 4t plus 3. Right? I can cross multiply in this case because I know that whatever I'm multiplying or cross multiplying, it's always positive in this case, right? So you can put a little note. Since t is greater than 0, t squared plus 4t plus 3, so both, and t squared plus 9 are greater than 0. Okay. Now this essentially is a polynomial inequality. To do that, we expand, simplify, and make one side of the inequality 0. So expanding the left side gives me 5t cubed plus 45t greater than expanding the right side gives me 15t cubed plus 60t squared plus 45t. Simplifying it some more, so subtracting 45t from both sides and subtracting this from both sides gives me negative 10t cubed minus 60t squared is greater than 0. And so I can write this in factored form. Negative 10t squared times t plus 6 is greater than 0. Okay, so, oh, well, okay, so now this is where we're at. I'm going to call this inequality 1, just a labeling. It's just labeling. It is inequality, yes. So, is there a solution for this? Is there any t values that would satisfy this? Right? So we start with what we know. T squared. Intuitively, you might think, okay, well, t is positive, right? T is positive, so t squared is positive. So this will be positive. So t squared and t plus 6, right? So positive times positive is always positive. Multiplying by a negative is negative. Whoop. But so this should be negative, right? You can explain all of that in, like, lengthy languages, or you could show it mathematically. How do we do that? You start with this. Since t is greater than 0, I want to make this. And it's easy to do. Once the expression is a factored form, it's easy enough to do. So first, I want to multiply both sides by t. So t is positive or negative? Do you know for sure t is positive? I do, right? Because t is positive. So multiplying both sides by t makes an inequality. T squared is greater than 0 times t is 0. Agree? I keep the inequality sign, right? Inequality is the same. Now, next, I want to multiply by negative 10. Multiplying both sides by negative 10. The inequality becomes negative 10 t squared. Negative 10 times 0 is 0. What happens to the inequality sign? Changes to less than. Okay? Next, I want to multiply by t plus 6 to both sides so that the left side will be exactly like the left side of inequality 1. Multiplying both sides by t plus 6. T plus 6. So the inequality becomes negative 10t squared times t plus 6, and the right side is still 0. Now, do we keep this or do we flip the inequality side? You keep it, right? Because t plus 6 is positive or negative? Positive. Done. Okay, so now this is exactly the same as the inequality that we're trying to solve. So what does that tell you about the solution to this inequality? This is false, right? Because this has to be negative. Yep.
So just have to write no solution.
Yeah. So, which you add a little phrase, which is which shows that inequality 1 is false, or has no solution. Okay. Now, just a what's left to be done is a conclusion. Hence, we can conclude that the tap water bacteria count will never exceed the pond water bacteria count. As required. Okay. From grade 10. I have to huh? Yeah. So you may not remember this from grade 10, right? Profit. What is profit? A little note here, right? If you don't remember, profit equals revenue take away cost. Okay? Revenue take away cost. So profit, in this case, so let P of X be the profit function. Okay? So P of X equals revenue, which is all of X, take away C of X, which is the cost function. Okay. So now you just put the appropriate functions into this equation. So negative 10x squared plus x take away 4x plus 5. So that equals negative x squared plus 6x minus 5. Common factoring out negative 1 gives me negative 1 bracket x squared minus 6x plus 5. Factoring gives me negative x minus 1, x minus 5. So that is the profit function. Okay. So, and now we have the average profit function, AP. Average profit is profit function divided by X. So the average profit function, AP of X, is given by P of X divided by X, which is negative X minus 1 times X minus 5 divided by X. So that is your average profit function in terms of X. Now, determine the production level that will make the average profit function positive. Okay. So when AP of X is greater than 0, this thing, negative X minus 1 times X minus 5 over X is greater than 0. Okay. Now, you want to solve this inequality. How do we do that? You use the number line. The numerator and the denominator are already in factored form, right? So this inequality lends itself to a number line solution very nicely. On the left-hand side column, you list all the factors, right, in the numerator and denominator. So I have x minus 1, I have x minus 5, and I have x, right? What is missing? The negative, right? Do not forget the negative. -1, right? So we also have the -1 as the factor. Yep.
What if you don't factor the negative?
What?
In the beginning.
Like here?
Yeah, like this x plus 1 and x plus 5. That's good.
X. Like you want to factor this. It like so straight away. No, that's fine. That's fine too, right? You can factor this as is, and then there wasn't a -1, right? Now, and what do you put down here? The zeros for all of these, right? -1 has no 0, right? X minus 1 has a 0 at, no, we have x equals 0, right? And this is a what? A vertical asymptote. This is a VA. And we have the 0 associated with x minus 1, which is 1. And we have the 0 associated with x minus 5, which is 5, right? And these are x-intercept, solid line. Okay, so I know. So, but when you write a solution, then you have to base it on that, right? I'm just distinguishing this from this, right? So these are x-intercept, right? This and this, right? For this rational function. Now, so are we interested in negative value for x? No, right? Because x is, what is x? X is the production volume, a number of snowboard produced, right? So x cannot be negative. You cannot produce negative number of snowballs. So you can just cross the negative region out. Now, between 0 and 1, when x is between 0 and 1, -1 is negative, right? In fact, it's negative, regardless of the value of x, right? -1 is negative. So x plus 1 will be negative. X minus 5 will be negative. X will be positive. So the net result is, or this product is, negative. When x is between 1 and 5, -1 is negative, x plus 1 is positive, x minus 5 is negative, and x is positive. So the net result is positive, right? So negative times positive times negative times positive is positive. So when x is greater than 5, when -1 is negative, x minus 1 will be positive, x minus 5 will be positive, x is positive. So this is, the net result is negative. So which region do we want?
So we want to be positive, so it's between 1 and 5.
So we want the positive, right? So it's here. So from the based on the number line analysis, AP of x is greater than 0 when 1 is less than x is less than 5 as required.
Do we have to write based on the number line analysis?
No, you don't. You can just say, thus A of P, AP of X is, when AP of X is greater than 0, X is like, it's this, right? So we don't include 1 and a 5, right? Because look, we want it greater than 0, not greater than or equal to 0. Okay? Yeah.
Write it as 1, bracket 1.
Or this can be written as 1, 5, right? So like that. Okay, so X is a member of open bracket 1, comma 5, close bracket, right? It's round brackets, not inclusive.
No.